So the last thing I'm going to show you, since you're all here, and I hate to waste your time, but I'm going to give you a vision of the future. Let's see. I want... Okay, so this is not the REDCap database that you know. This is a different REDCap database. So we're going to be moving to what's called two-factor authentication, something that you deal with at the university all the time. This is an added security feature. And ultimately, it will go on all new projects. But my plan is to kind of grandfather it in a little bit. You do have an option of turning on two-factor authentication for REDCap, but setting it for a project level, whether or not you use it or not. So I will attempt to demonstrate this. I'm going to log in and notice that I did not have to use two-factor authentication. So you didn't see me have to use Duo or Google Authenticate or anything like that. So no two-factor authentication and login. And I have two projects in here. One that is exempt from login authentication. The other one is if login is required, and that is on a project level basis. That means that if I open this project, it's going to force me to authenticate with two-factor. If I open this one, it will not. So if I click on this, there's my project. I still was not required to authenticate with two-factor authentication. So I'm going to go back, but I have turned it on here. So when I click on this, it will require two-factor authentication. Before I do that, I want to point out that this will also occur if you log in, no two-factor, and then want to edit your profile. If you want to edit your profile, it will require two-factor authentication. Once you have used the two-factor and logged in with the two-factor, then you won't be prompted for like a window period of time. And depending on where you close your window, you may have to use two-factor to log in. I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm going to click on the test to require two-factor login. Now I've got three different options set up at the moment: Duo, Google Authenticator, and email. And I'll show you about Google Authenticator. Duo is something that I have set up just for this testing purposes. I actually have created a second Duo account outside of the university just so I could test this and not worry about the university. So I'm going to click on this, and it's exactly the same. If I say send me a push, I have my phone in my hand, and so I authenticated in. So that was two-factor on this particular project. So if I close this and then open up and I start to come back in, oh, well, I've come to my projects. If I was to open this and open, sometimes it will open directly to the last page you were working on if it was cached. If it does that and you are automatically directed to a project page within one that requires login, you will have to use Duo to log in. So again, I didn't have to log in here, but if I go to my profile, see, this is the thing. It appears that I didn't have to use Duo or two-factor authentication, but in fact, it's cached at the moment. It hasn't really logged you out yet. And so if I log out and log back in, now it's going to prompt me because we'll see where it takes me. Okay, so see, it took me to my profile, which is where I left off. And this is a page that requires two-factor authentication. That's why you had to use two-factor for logging in. So if I get out of this, go back to my projects and log out and log back in, and I don't need two-factor because this is a page that doesn't require it. We're on a project level basis. So I know this may be a little confusing, but the more you use it, it will be pretty easy, I think, for you to grasp. I just want to prepare you because this is something that's coming along in the not that distant future. We're writing up a process on how to roll it out that has the least impact. We need to look at all the projects that are global, because if you have associated your project to someone who is, out of the country, the example that has been used to me was China, and you're working with someone there, they may not be able to use some of the methods. However, my understanding is pretty much being able to use email for second factor authentication should work most anywhere. Regarding the Google Authenticator, and by the way, we also have text is my vision for two-factor. So you can use, it'll ask you if you want to send a text. So it'll look just like Amazon or something like that. And they'll send a text and you'll be able to authenticate that way. And it just is going to use Twilio. So any of you who have projects that have Twilio, you'll be able to see that. But in my profile, and again, I did not authenticate when I logged in, so it's asking me now. Taking a second to approve. Here we are. Okay, so for the Google Authenticator for this, for our instance of REDCap, you would set that up here. And all it is when you click on that, you'd flash this with your QR code reader, and you're up and running for two-factor using Google Authenticator, which is also secure. So as well as demonstrating it to you all, I'm also demonstrating it to the REDCap team here. This is the first they've seen it. I've told them that we're going to go to this, and they're starting to read the document about how to configure it. It is something that when the time comes and I turn it on, it will be something where all new projects as of that date will require two-factor authentication, but none of the projects that are existing will require two-factor. So don't worry about it. If you have a project and you're thinking, oh man, I've got to get ready for this, you don't really, because we will have set all the projects that exist to not having to use two-factor on the project. So as long as you have a project as long as you have a project that does not require two-factor for login, then you will not have to use two-factor to log in. It only takes one, and you won't have to use two-factor to log in. As soon as you have all of your projects set up to require login, though, then you will have to use two-factor when you log in. And you will not be able to turn that on and off on a project level basis. You will need to send an email. We'll have it set up in our little request online form that you want to set an instrument or a project, set a project to require two-factor login. And when you do, then we will turn it on. And then the next time we'll let you know that that's complete. And then next time you log in to that project or any of your team logs in, it will require two-factor login. So I know that's kind of a lot. Hopefully you got all that. I'm expecting in the next couple months, we end up moving to this. We're definitely going to put it into effect, but it's a matter of just ensuring that we have a rollout that meets everybody's needs, that we don't leave anybody isolated from their project or anybody that's associated to your project isolated from the project. So if you are in this session and you have anything to contribute, concerns, comments, please go ahead and feed them into the REDCap@arizona.edu email, and they'll get to me, and I'll make sure that I address whatever the concerns are. But you are the first to see this, and basically you're one of the first to hear about it. So anyway, that's two-factor authentication and what's coming down.